Welcome to the deep dive. We're going straight into the sources today for a look at a topic that it touches nearly every family structure in some way: divorce.
Yeah, it really does.
And today, we're unpacking a piece by Jessica Apgar, who approaches this topic as an expert divorce mediator.
And she also teaches mediation skills, which is, I think, a really key part of her perspective.
It is, because her work, it surfaces something that I think a lot of people feel, but maybe don't have the clear language for.
Right. We often think of divorce as just an ending, a clean break.
Oh, full stop.
Exactly. But she argues that many couples, in their own emotional turmoil, they engage in these destructive behaviors that don't just end the marriage.
Yeah.
They actively undermine the permanent family structure that they still need to maintain going forward.
That's the key phrase right there: permanent family structure.
Ah.
So when the sources came in, what stood out to me was this idea that divorce isn't just stressful. The choices people make during it are often, well, completely counterintuitive to the goal of protecting their own kids.
Yeah. And she's not just theorizing, she's drawing on years of mediation experience.
Seeing the same patterns repeat.
Again and again. And the central tension she highlights is it's denial. It's this belief that you can somehow surgically remove the spouse without affecting the parent.
Right, that the kids can just be disconnected from all the fallout.
And that somehow the family stability will just magically rebuild itself without accepting the new structural realities. Apgar suggests this misplaced belief is really the root cause of the most damaging decisions.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. If the primary goal, which, all parents claim,
Right.
is to minimize harm to the kids,
Of course.
then we need to understand the three specific destructive decisions Apgar has identified through her work. Our mission here is just to get that clarity to avoid those pitfalls.
And it seems like we have to start with that very human yet often misguided impulse to protect children through silence.
Yeah.
Which brings us directly to her first destructive pattern: the complete disconnection of children from the actual structural process of the divorce.
And when you hear disconnection, I think your first instinct is to get defensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think, of course I should shield my kids. Why would I tell them all the ugly details?
But that's not what she's talking about. Apgar makes a really crucial distinction here that has these profound psychological consequences.
She's not advocating for sharing the minute-by-minute drama.
No, not at all. Or the details of who did what. What's fascinating is that she clarifies this denial is about creating a false narrative. The narrative that their lives won't really change.
But they are changing.
Fundamentally, the
Yeah.
physical structure, the housing, the schedule, all of it is changing. And when parents fail to communicate openly and honestly about that structural shift, the children are just left to fill this huge emotional and informational vacuum.
So how does Apgar observe those children filling in the blanks? Because that's where the real damage is done, in that blank space.
Yeah. They fill it with self-blame.
Ugh.
Consistently, she notes that children translate their parents' silence into their own guilt, their own anxiety, or just this deep, deep confusion.
They feel responsible for the tension.
Completely. They start thinking things like, if I had just been better, or if I hadn't argued with mom, maybe they wouldn't be splitting up. They become these little internal investigators, just trying to find a reason for why their world is suddenly so unstable.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Apgar sees this enforced silence, this denial of reality, as creating a profound, what she calls a wound in the parent-child relationship.
It is. It's almost a loyalty bind, isn't it?
How so?
Well, because the parents aren't speaking honestly, the child feels they can't ask questions. And that silence, that inability to ask, makes them feel abandoned.
Or just unimportant.
Unimportant, exactly. During this incredibly critical time, a lot of Apgar's work as a mediator is helping parents understand that structured truth, delivered in an age-appropriate way, is fundamentally stabilizing for a child.
It shows them the adults are still in control.
Yes, even if the situation is hard. The alternative, this emotional ambiguity, that's what spirals into long-term distress.
It's so clear that the emotional fallout is rooted in denial. And if that's the emotional front, then the second destructive decision Apgar identifies is, well, it's the practical financial cost of that same denial, the financial war.
This is where it gets really ugly.
She talks about the refusal to accept the reality of the post-divorce financial landscape.
And this is where the paper reality of a separation it slams into the emotional desire to maintain the past.
Right.
Apgar really challenges the dangerous misconception that child support and alimony are some form of punishment.
Or a way for one person to win.
Or that they're just unnecessary. And that emotional framing, it immediately turns what should be a necessary financial restructuring into a complete battleground.
And Apgar is so precise about what these payments are actually designed to do.
She is.
She emphasizes they're a crucial lifeline. They're designed to provide stability for the kids and for the parent, with primary custody.
It's just logistics. It covers the basic needs that exist no matter what your marital status is. Housing, food, school supplies.
Activities. Things that keep a child's life feeling normal. So viewing them as a weapon is just a profound misreading of their function.
And it all ties back to that denial of the new reality. A mediator, like her, consistently has to remind couples that their pre-divorce lifestyle, it's going to change.
It has to.
The expectation that the same spending habits, the same vacations, the same luxuries can be maintained for two separate households.
It's just not sustainable. It's simple math.
Right. The cognitive dissonance there must be just tremendous, especially for, high net worth couples. They're fighting so desperately to maintain a financial reality that literally cannot exist anymore.
And Apgar notes that sacrifices are not optional.
No, they're a responsible and realistic part of the process. So when parents refuse to accept that financial reality, maybe they refuse to downsize the house or hold on to expensive assets.
The focus shifts completely away from the children's well-being.
Completely. The fight just becomes about money, which is really just masking all the deeper emotional pain.
And that's the zero-sum game you mentioned. That financial fighting, it just destroys any chance of cooperative co-parenting.
It does, because every single dollar becomes a point of resentment. It becomes leverage.
The financial battle becomes a substitute for the emotional resolution that never happened.
Exactly. And Apgar's expertise really lies in helping couples transition out of that mindset. Mediation, in this context, it's the practical framework. It forces both parties to ground themselves in the new budget, which, inherently stabilizes the future, even if it feels restrictive at first.
So we've covered emotional denial and financial denial, which leads us to the third pattern Apgar identifies. And it's often a direct result of the first two, prioritizing a new romantic relationship over the needs of the children and, crucially, over the permanent co-parenting structure.
And what's so fascinating here is Apgar's insight on timing and focus. I mean, moving on is natural. It's healthy for the adult.
Oh.
But the speed and intensity with which a new partner is integrated into the family, that directly impacts the children. She observes that introducing a new partner too soon,
Or just allowing that new relationship to consume all of the parents' focus.
yes, it makes the children feel replaced or secondary.
And this is where those previous wounds just reopen. If the child already felt abandoned because of the silence, a new partner arriving so aggressively just confirms all those fears.
It looks like a replacement, a literal replacement.
Yeah, and this raises a really important question. What fundamental reality are parents ignoring when they do that, when they focus only on the new relationship?
Well, Apgar insists that they fail to acknowledge that they are still part of two distinct family structures.
Not just one.
Not just the new one. They treat the new relationship as this definitive fresh start that just erases the past. But for the kids, the past, the existence of their other parent, is still very much present and very critical.
That distinction, addition versus replacement, that is so powerful.
It's everything.
The new partner is an addition to the family structure, not a replacement for one of the parents.
Yeah.
And that original structure, the one centered around co-parenting, that's permanent.
Precisely. And the short-sighted focus, treating the ex-spouse as if they're totally irrelevant to the future, it creates this deep resentment and distrust that just totally undermines the co-parenting dynamic.
I can imagine.
She often has to mediate issues where the new partner is trying to assume parental roles or dictate schedules. And that is just devastating to the former marital relationship, which has now transitioned into this permanent co-parenting one.
So it seems like all three of these destructive decisions, the silence, the financial warfare, and then fast-tracking new relationships, they all stem from the same root failure.
They do.
Ignoring the reality of the permanent post-divorce structure.
It is the failure to recognize the paradox. The marriage is over, but the family relationship, which is now structured around co-parenting, it's not. That shared parenting relationship is permanent because the children are permanent. And Apgar's experience shows that sustained, bitter conflict is almost always driven by one or both parents just refusing to accept that core, non-negotiable reality.
So what does this all mean for us? I mean, if we synthesize Apgar's findings, the real issue is a fundamental misunderstanding of what success even looks like in a divorce.
Right. It's not about being done.
It's about being reorganized.
That's a great way to put it. Apgar's ultimate conclusion is so grounded and regulating. A successful divorce isn't about winning or moving on as quickly as you can to forget the past. It's about consciously and intentionally preserving the family structure, even if it looks different.
That structure has to be stabilized. It has to be protected.
Because the children's entire sense of safety relies on it.
So reviewing the 3 necessary actions for preservation, Apgar gives us a pretty clear path. Parents have to put their kids' needs first by communicating structural changes honestly. They have to accept the financial realities and make responsible sacrifices for that new dual household stability.
And critically,
They have to understand that their shared parenting relationship with their ex is permanent, which makes cooperation mandatory, not optional.
and this shift in perspective is exactly what Apgar, as an expert mediator, is trying to facilitate. I mean, mediation is the tool. It's the tool that helps couples evaluate their own perspectives and move forward in a more amicable way by enforcing a shared view of this new reality.
This leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. If the goal, according to Apgar, is not to win the divorce, but to preserve stability in this new structure,
Yeah.
how much perspective are you willing to gain through objective support like mediation to immediately accept the necessary sacrifices and that structural permanence?
Because that willingness, that's the power of clarity over urgency. And at the end of the day, it's really the only way to avoid the long-term emotional and financial costs of a destructive fight.